so now that you have hopefully finished chapters 1 and 2 of the Code Along under Dave Gray, now we're going to have a little discussion, right? So this is the part, and I break down every part of how this is graded. So remember, after you do this, there's nothing you need to submit because again, and I am repeating myself here, when you're looking at your commits, right? Like I have my repo open here, okay? And if I go over to my commits, I would see, oh yeah, here's my original one, and then I have two. So then I would want to make sure as I'm going through that I would then make sure I have all the commits and I see that there is indeed a basic setup where I should have, and that's where I look then at the code, and I'll show you how I see it in a minute, right? And then you'll want to have another one with fixed errors. Then you'll have one with external, okay? So you can see just from my link here that I don't have all of them. So you would want to make sure of that. And then when you click, and again, remember, and let me show you this. When I look at the private repo here, I'm looking at the files as they're listed. When I look at commits, I'm looking at the commits that were made. And then when I click on the commits, I look at the code that was written. And so when I look at your code, that's how I will grade this first part to see how well you handled and did the work that is required. Now, one thing you can do here is if you had a question, and if maybe you watched this but you hadn't finished it, if you had a question, and this is just good to know, when you're doing the work for this class, there's always options for you to get help. Of course, reaching out to me in Canvas is a great option. Going to Discord and asking in, like I don't have Discord open, but I could open it real quick. Going to Discord and asking, oh, hang on, I may have to do something. Let's see, oh, it let me in. So in CIT85, I see that there's already some discussion out there, which is great. So you could go there. You could go to the tutor. So the tutor, Zach's hours listed here. You could also reply to this post and ask a question here about something, okay? Now, that's fine to do, and I will, and other people could see your post as well. So that's an option. I didn't really cover that in this part, but I thought about it afterwards, and I thought, yeah, that's a good place to actually ask questions, okay? But this step 3 assumes you've completed the work, right? So now that you've completed it, we're going to reply and you include the following, like how many commits did you make for this work? And here's where, I kind of covered that as an option. Did you have any questions or comments? Because maybe you don't have any questions, but there's some comment because there was various things that Dave did, and there were various things I had you do for that first chapter 1 and 2. So there may just be, questions or comments. Then the other thing, and I realized this in hindsight, is I didn't talk about this very much. And I talked about having tabs open, and I talked about using, for me, right, the control tab to move through tabs. I do a command window to actually move through applications, right? I did talk about some of that. Again, maybe the difference between code space and local development, anything there. But in this case, one of the things you're doing is you're moving between screens, like you're moving between the instruction, right? I don't even have here, and I could do this, what I talked about before, having the video open, right? And going, right? So you're between there. And then you're actually coding, right? So then you have your code up. And so for those of you in code space, you have it here. In addition, you also have your live server. Okay, so just some things to talk about, because in this case, more screen real estate can really be helpful to you. Like one of the things, if you don't have multiple screens, which not everybody does, and you could also think about using other mobile devices, maybe an iPad. If your phone is capable of showing you clearly enough, maybe you could do that. Right, but describe your screen setup and any improvements you'd consider making to be more productive. Now that you've done this, before we actually get into doing more of this work, think about that now. Or, what in your screen setup works well for you to complete this work. So I've given you kind of like, I need some, anyway, there's two options. Now, in your reply, you don't just put these questions and then answer them. You actually what's called narrative style. This is where you just basically write about your answers to these questions that I have posed here, or things that you need to cover in your response. But that's what I say. Do not copy the questions, just answer them naturally in narrative style. So that's 40 points. And now 20 points comes from finding a student's post that hasn't received a reply and provide a meaningful response. Now, I only make you do one. I should have find a student. I didn't say more than one. You can find one post here, but because it's only one, make it a meaningful substantive reply here. Okay, because this is the idea of really learning from each other and giving each other feedback and trying to answer questions or look at what somebody may have suggested. Because you will find in life, in general, there'll always be somebody that knows more than you, and there may be somebody that could benefit from your knowledge. So just know that's kind of the way the world operates. And the sooner we all get comfortable with that, asking questions, knowing that we may not always know the answer, letting go of what somebody else may think of what we're asking is a really helpful thing, because it allows you to move and improve the more you can openly share and get help and provide help. Okay, so that's what you need to do for your work here. And now what I'm going to do is now go record a video for the rest of the code along that you're going to do for this week. Hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, I've given you different ways to reach out for help. Do know that I've said this about Discord. Like on Discord, you don't don't at me. Like when you do this, when you say and you target me, other students may not reply. And so, but if I happen to be around, I will definitely try to answer, right? And I don't take direct messages because of the way the campus requires my communications with you. So just FYI. Okay, but it is a great place to interact with your classmates. I'll talk to you later.